IVM.
कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. Okay, it's called Cyrus Says. We have a very eminent and youngish guest who will come on in about 5 seconds. But before that, I want to rant, and I hope he joins me in it. Please don't WhatsApp how bad the second surge is and how we should stay at home and how everyone's going to die and how we've all been bad people. We're not bad people. The way I see it, government doesn't know what to do. So they point fingers at you and say, wear your mask, and it's your fault. It's not your fault. It's a huge freaking pandemic. It goes through everything. So everything is porous. Let's use a Persian word. And I just think that you have to stop the negativity and the anxiety and the paranoia. Stop it. I recommend bench press, deadlifts and squats on alternate days and some stuff in between. This is what I recommend, but free to ignore me.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My guest, the one and only Brian Tellis. After a long time, actually, I'm getting to speak to him. This is a man, a legend in the voice business. I think, I don't want to age him, but we're looking at pre-independence when he started. But definitely when I started in 93, if I get my maths right, he was already there, very prominent voice. And he was a guy they would tell you, you got to sound like Brian Tellis, otherwise you sound like a woman, which is not a bad thing in this Me Too generation. Please sound like a woman. But at that point, he had that timbre and he had that sonorous voice. And he also had the music knowledge. We'll come to all that. But this is the man who is like the pioneer in our business. And lots of us grew up with this voice in radio, which was the only stream we had at that point. And of course, then he continues. His achievements include Sex Every Weekend. Also, lots of radio. He conquered that world. Then he moved into event marketing. Again, a pioneer, one of the first few. Then many years later, he sold it for millions of dollars and bought the country of Bhutan. Then he moved on to theatre, which was always there, but now he can spend more time because he reached that point in his life where self-actualization, which actually means you have so much friggin' money, what do you do? Like an investment banker. And before that, he had a normal job, which I didn't know about. So I want to go all the way back to the beginning. Brian, by the way, I've done all the talking and half the show's over. Is that good?
So I will just interject. I'll say yes, no, because, Cyrus, firstly, what an introduction, man. What an introduction.
Too much.
I love you even more. I only wish you wore a skirt, man.
You're my Catholic cousin, man. What the hell are you talking about?
That is true.
Each other. You
got half Catholic genes, right? Half Makapao genes.
Yeah, and see, I'm a big fan of nepotism, whatever people say. I say for my side, Parsis and Christians, what are we, 7.5 people of India? If I don't support them, who will? So for me, it's not nepotism.
No.
I have to choose people.
Cyrus, it's about 12.5. Your information is dated.
You just don't like Farhad Wadia, and you always Agnes too, because he's a huge man. So apparently he's lost weight.
He has?
Okay, jokes apart, yeah, he has. But he's way back in America where they don't feed him. Let's go to the beginning, and because this is also for me. See, I know all about your successes and the things that everybody knows about you, which we will talk about. But you had like a regular job. Can you go back in time? You were GSA of Pan American Airlines and then Air France, Air Canada. What's all this?
Yeah. I mean, I was a bit of a rock and roller from the early days. And, I did my graduation in commerce because science was for nerds and arts was for the ladies. And so it left a very intelligent...
That's so rude. Just because it's correct, you don't have to say it. Like people don't say your kid is ugly, just because it's correct. You don't say that. Yeah. You're right.
So if you do commerce, if you do commerce, you got to get a job in accounts and finance, and even
or your pop had a business.
No such like. Well, he had a business, but it was illegal and not paying. So I joined.
Stop. What is illegal? What is it?
We'll take that offline.
Alcohol?
We'll take that offline, Cyrus.
Will he get raided? Would you get raided? No.
Most certainly. Yeah, so I mean, I actually started on a princely salary of 300 per month with a pharmaceutical company actually.
The salaries have come back to that, by the way.
Yeah. And the second year, they doubled. Just in case you think I'm not good at what I do, they doubled my salary to 600 rupees.
Can we know the name of the pharma?
Yeah, eMerck. Back,
Oh, that's a huge company. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, that was it. And then of course, I got contacted. I mean, I love travel. All of us do. And so Firoza Godrej and Cyrus Shroff were running the GSA for Pan American. And then I joined them. And, we used to work out of the Oberoi Hotel. And down the corridor was Air Canada. And so there was and so over a conversation in the washroom, and we won't discuss that further.
Some of the great moments in human history have happened in the urinal.
Okay. We won't discuss that further, Cyrus. I got propositioned with a job in Air Canada. So that was it. Air Canada into Air France, and took me up to around 93, December of 93, by which time, as you mentioned earlier, Radiohead had kicked in. Yeah.
You were the Times, the face is the wrong word. The mouth, the voice of Times now, of Times Radio. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Times FM at that time.
You guys had the most hours, if I remember, right?
Yeah, there was one in the morning that I used to host between 9 and 10. And then there were, I think, a couple of hours in the afternoon/evening. Yeah, I think there were a couple of other players.
But again, I think culturally, our people, our tribes, do grow up with a lot of radio and music in the background. Not to say others don't. But when we started in 93 with privatized radio, and you were like the founding father, so to speak, what did you think? Because
it was very exciting actually, because like the rest of us, we grew up on the Casey Kasems of this world. Music was not easy to come by. So when you traveled, you came back with cassettes, which were invaluable, and then later you came back with CDs, which were even more invaluable, and things like that. So friends of mine would record radio shows of the likes of Casey Kasem, and when they announced FM in India, the people who were scouting for talent were looking at two things: people who speak endlessly like you and me, and people who probably knew a bit of music. And I'd like to believe I kind of qualified there.
And Mishal Verma,
yeah, he used to do this.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah.
For radio, yeah.
I'm still in touch with him. He bases himself out of Singapore. Yeah, he was. He
sounds like a voiceover artist. If you talk to him, he's like, oh, there's no one's paying him.
And why not? And why not? Yeah.
Hey, let's segue for a second. You're famous for the nasal twang, which a lot of people have copied, let me tell you, and not only in the English language. Is that a learned thing, or is that the way Brian is? What's that all about?
No, it's just me. I've got this. It's just me. I've got this nose. I don't know if you can see the profile, and it plays a large part in who I am, including my voice. So I can't do shit about it. So that's who I am.
So even during, let's say, orgasm, do we have a nasal sound, or how does it go?
Yeah. It's a nasal sound. I don't betray myself. I'm, what you see and hear is what you get. So.
What an awkward question, an awful question for any anchor to ask. I apologize completely. Should never happen again.
You sound so apologetic, Cyrus. Honestly, you endear yourself to me. And, today, you're irresistible, brother. I mean, you're irresistible. With clothes on, you are disgustingly attractive. And without clothes, my goodness. Man.
I'm just facing the COVID situation head on with nothing. I just got headphones and that's it. I'm taking it on.
I was wondering if there was anything attached to the head-on phrase that you said, but...
ouch. Our podcast ends. We don't go gardan ke niche, whatever happens, for many reasons. No, I'm just saying it's a very romantic phase. I'm thinking back to 93 when it happened. And like I said, we grew up with, the BBC radio, this and that. We would play, we'd catch all kinds of stations, Binaka Hit Parade and this and that. So we had...
Radio Ceylon.
Radio Ceylon. What a lovely word Ceylon is. I wish, with due respect, we kept that name. Radio Ceylon was huge. And I'm just thinking, suddenly for us, that generation, radio would play such a big role to suddenly be the architect of radio. That happened in 24 hours, someone like you as well. So wasn't that like just a lovely time for you? You suddenly got this mic and you're talking to people and people are telling you, hey, Brian, I heard your show. Take us through all that.
Yeah, it was pretty intimidating when I first got approached. I mean, I was intimidated, to say the least. And then, that wasn't intimidating enough. They got me involved. If you remember, it was a single radio station, 107.1, a single frequency.
Correct. We shared it. Hum sab ek hai. Yeah.
That's right. So you went and you pitched for for certain hours and stuff. And they involved me in that process. Of course, I was sitting in the second row of seats, so to speak, not the first row, but it was crazy. It was very, very exciting. And, we slowly kind of got over that, feeling of being intimidated and came to grips with it. We spent a lot of time in All India Radio talking to, the station heads. And I got some fun stories, about All India.
There was one.
Okay, I'll tell you one. There was this, so I used to do this classics, play classics in the morning. Yeah. And so I used to carry my own CDs. And invariably, I'd carry a few greatest hits, so you're not carrying too many CDs, physical CDs. And they had these two, if I remember right, they were Studers, those CD players. And you queued your song. So let's say I queued a Rod Stewart song, and I kept it on pause. And then there are faders in front of you, your microphone faders, as also your CD fader. So what do you go ahead and say? Oh, okay, now we're gonna, I hope you're sitting back and enjoying your breakfast, because here's some incredible Rod Stewart for you, and you hit the fader and it's an auto start. Now, one of those CD players was as badly misbehaved as you are. And
as old.
And as old, yeah. And I queued track number 7, which was Rod Stewart, and track number 9 played, which was Elton John. And here I was with this grand, introduction to Rod Stewart. And then I'd come back and say, sorry, Rod's kind of still having his breakfast. And Elton jumped into the fray and, take this one. It's called Yellow Brick Road or whatever the hell. So anyway, after the show, I went, and it happened twice or thrice. And Mishal and all would always, call me and tell me what a loser I am, because I was apologizing 3 and 4 times, in 1 hour.
By the way, you played the wrong singer.
Hey, dude, what's going down with your show, brother? You're off the mark. So I went to the radio.
This is sports. There's a sledge, huh? Unnecessary. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great fun. So I went to the station head. And I told him, I said, studio in Studio A or whatever, your CD player is like freaking out, man. It's doing its own thing. So he said, and it was time for the news from Delhi, so we could go into the studio and check out the equipment. After my show, there was the news directly from Delhi. So I took him into the studio and I kind of stuck. I said, he said, which CD player? I said, that CD player. So he said, tell me what you did. So I ejected the tray and I put a CD in. So he stopped. He's saying, stop. I know what the problem is. So I'm going, man, this guy's Einstein's daddy, man. I haven't even pushed the tray back. So I said, and what is the problem? He says, man, you got to turn the CD. So he has turned the CD so that the print on the CD, the written print faces you. He says the print and the names of the songs must face you when you close the tray. Then it won't happen. Cyrus, this is the truth. This is the truth.
This podcast needs a tutorial now, because all the listeners who are under 25 have to first figure out what technology you're talking about. Then you talk about facing which way, which is not an option on the online world. So, wow. But was that correct, or was he just bullshitting?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It was ridiculous. I gave up. I said, oh, right, man. Thank you so much. What do you say to someone like that? I mean, he was a nice enough guy. Bejal. I even remember his name. He was Bejal.
Shout out to Bejal.
Really nice guy.
I had we had the 7 o'clock slot. So we had a couple of similar stories, again, to do with not management, but the real people who run it, the tunes. So we were delayed at least 2 or 3 occasions because they hadn't arrived to open the main door. I was standing out at 5 to 7 palpitating all on time. And these guys walk in at 7:05 saying, okay, yeah, abhi start karta hai. The very phlegmatic people, lovely. I wish I had a job like that. They never seem stressed. Did you notice that?
Yeah, no. And they'd come in, the ladies would announce, 107.1 megahertz pe aap sun rahe, that lady. Oh God, they'd do the introduction before the show, and they'd come with these large handbags and 30 bangles on each arm. And we'd play all the ads on a spool on your left. The CD players were on your right and the spools were on your left. And we'd carry the ads, on spools and play it. She has placed her large bag over the spools while the CD player is on, or while the spool player is on. I mean, can you imagine?
But no malice. It's done just the way it is.
No malice. It's like no malice. It's pure ignorance. No malice. Pure ignorance. Yeah.
The finest form of comedy. When people just do things, it's a professional. And you're the first professional setup for radio that we have, in a sense. Yeah. A free radio, if you want to put it that way. Oh, wow. I hope you've written all these stories down. One day it'll make a hell of a...
Oh, man, I should actually write it down.
Yeah. We have to jump because you've got a time problem. Now, so that's radio, voiceovers, all that came with it. When did events start? Because once again, you guys were the first off the block. So how do you think of that?
So Cyrus, as you're aware, all of us would anchor shows, and so we were involved with live events, but as maybe MCs or anchors or whatever else you want to call it. It was in early middle 93 when we started talking about it, because I was an airline person, and we do a lot of entertainment, a lot of events for our airlines, and that really kind of seeded the thought. And like I said, I used to anchor a lot of shows, so one saw live events happening and saw a bit of opportunity there. So we discussed it in middle 93. Like you rightly said, August 93, 15th of August, radio launched. And so there was a little bit of a, financial kind of, there was 10 rupees more in the pocket, thanks to radio. So, we figured that we must give it a shot. And so I jumped my job in December of 93, the airline job, and actually went on to, along with Neil and Otis, kick off Fountainhead. And we started, we figured that it would work, but if it didn't, hey, we'd go back to a 9 to 5. Yeah, what's so bad? And we thought we'd give it a shot because we enjoyed the live space immensely. And so we stuck with the live space, like I said, and things didn't turn out too bad. It was a struggle. There were times when we'd sit by our telephone, which was an extension of the family's phone downstairs, and wait for the phone to ring for a client to call. But invariably, it took a fair while before that happened. But as we went along, things got better, and I don't believe it was as traumatic as some people think it might have been.
Hi, Mr. Brian. I think Cyrus got disconnected for some reason. I'll just come on. In the meantime, there are some AMA questions which are coming to us from the live chat. Firstly, guys, whoever's on the live chat, please do like the stream, which helps with the discovery of the video in the algorithm. And I will start with the AMAs for Mr. Brian in the meantime, while Cyrus rejoins. And this one comes in from Sayani Bakchi. Okay, I think she works with you, sir, because she's saying Brian has been one of my biggest mentors, and even after 10 years of working with him, I can't thank him enough for just how he makes people feel. That's so nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sayani.
Hey, Sayani, that's kind of you, man. That's kind of you.
Okay, this one comes in from Karan Sethi. He asks, what is something that one doesn't know about being a voiceover actor or artist?
Interesting question. What is something that one doesn't know? Yeah, I think, being a voiceover is not really about sounding what is prescribed, what you think is prescribed. I think a voiceover, really, you need to get into the shoes of the product. If you're doing a product, if you're doing an ad, you need to really soak yourself into what the product is and what the communication is like. Sometimes we tend to make the mistake of trying to be Brian Tellis. You've got to drop that. Yes, of course, there are certain parameters which need to guide your voice and your conviction in the voice. But I think, like in theater, you have to immerse yourself in the character. You have to really play the character. And yes, obviously it's your voice, but you need to actually emotionally and, of course, literally sound like the character. So it takes for a bit of character immersion. It takes for a bit of understanding of what character you're playing. That's as far as theater and film is concerned. And as far as, ads and jingles are concerned, you need to really understand what the objectivity is behind the advertising and get into the product and what you're communicating. So, I know I'm making it sound like rocket science, but once you kind of get into it, it tends to become a natural thing to do.
All right. Next one comes in from Saurabh Upadhyay. He says, hi guys, good morning. Huge fan of Cyrus and Brian. He's asking you to do a podcast. And so he's saying it's a session. Please do a podcast, Brian. And he says, Brian, who do you listen to most? Your favorites. So I think he's talking about music. So who's your favorite musicians that you listen to right now?
Okay. So on the first question about getting into podcasts, I'm going to get into that soon enough. I do something called Tell Us Like It Is, but which is an audio-visual product. But I'm going to get into podcasts, I'm hoping sooner than later. My favorite music, man, I don't know if I want to point out any one band, but I'm immersed in a couple of genres. I'm immersed in rock and rock and roll. So classic rock is really where my soul is. And of course, over the last 20 years or so, I've started to kind of immerse myself in the blues and blues rock and, southern blues. So if you were to look at genres, so firstly, by way of language, my comfort zone is English, English music. And within that, like I said, the couple of genres are rock and roll, and a fair sense of blues.
Is there an artist who you're listening to currently, or you heard recently?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going back and listening to a lot of the older classic albums. So I recently, and I know I'm going to sound cliched, but I just can't get enough of Dark Side of the Moon. I can't get enough of Alan Parsons Project. I can't get enough of the Allman Brothers. I tend to like the Southern rock sound. So I like the Allman Brothers both as a band and, of course, Greg Allman. As far as the rock is concerned, I'm going to sound a bit cliched, but I'm an old Hendrix fan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to a lot of Zappa growing up, Frank Zappa. So yes. I love that feel. And I'm a soft rock kind of lover as well. So I like bands like America, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Simon and Garfunkel, the softer harmonic sounds. So that's the kind of music. I mean, but I don't have any favorite band. We're joined with the biggest. We're joined now by Cyrus Brocha.
Hi, Cyrus. Can you hear
Hello,
us?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Can't hear me.
Hi, Cyrus. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Thank God. Just saying the irony of this whole show is that we're discussing AIR and their rustic equipment and how bad they were. And then I give a performance of a lifetime of being here in this beautiful setting. Sorry, electricity in some phase went. And then we panicked after that, tried to figure it out. Brian, where were we? I know the time constraint being what it was. Let's get back to, you were just explaining about doing anchoring and stuff like that and getting into the whole business.
Yeah, so it was, like I said, late 93, Cyrus, when given, the background of anchoring and given the background of being airline people and doing a lot of events for the airline trade, we figured that there was a great scope in doing live events. And so we started off, the three of us started Fountainhead. And initially there was this bit of waiting by the phone, waiting for the damn phone to ring for a client to call. All of that happened, but it wasn't as bad as sometimes people think it would have been. And
what do you start with? Weddings and stuff, the smaller gigs like that?
No, we didn't ever do weddings. We started off, Cyrus, we were airline people or aviation people, and so we had a few contacts in the airline business, obviously, and so we used that, and so we did a fair few airline gigs. I remember one of the gigs we did, because of the gig and I had to be at the gig and anchor it, I missed the first Michael Jackson show in Mumbai.
Where he stopped to pee. I won't tell you where. Right. And we were covering that. That was my first year at MTV. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
so you missed it because
I missed the gig because we were doing a gig at the Taj, I remember, in the Crystal in the ballroom. And yeah, I missed the gig, man. I missed the gig. Yeah, it's one of those sorry things.
Brian, whose fault is that? Because it's your event, plus you're the compere. So, I mean, you're in charge of the timings.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm not a big I would have loved to have that. No, not, it would have been nice to kind of soak in the vibe.
Yeah. For us, for our generation, I think there weren't many before that. And it was one of the first big concerts, biggest name in the world. So it was something, no doubt. The whole of Mumbai had come to that, where was it, Bandra? Huge crowd. You couldn't get in, you couldn't get out. It was awful, actually, in many ways. My God. And then at the end of the end, for me, it wasn't Elvis, it was Michael Jackson. So I was like, what the hell am I doing here? In that story. So then events. And of course, the events galloped along and you guys made a lot of friends along the way. We met because of some events. I was a young guy then. I'm still a young guy. I went up to you and said, Mr. Tellis, I may have said Mr. Tellis, we share the same, my mother's surname is the same as yours. And I was hoping that there'd be some bonding. And you told me, can you please get me a soda? I remember that. You just sent me off.
Did I?
No, I'm kidding. I can't remember.
You are responsible for my strong prayer life. Because every time we did a gig together, I spent the previous 3 days just praying that everything would go according to plan. I'll never forget that we did a gig for the Mahindras, and I think there was Anand Mahindra and Keshub Mahindra who were at the gig. They were launching, I forget what it was. It was a pretty tight affair, and you cracked a really bad, typical Cyrus Brocha joke. about Keshav Mahindra going for a drive in this new car with his driver.
Kunal did that. Yeah. I remember the gag.
I know it was a gag. I'll never forget the look on Keshav Mahindra's face when you compete. And there was a look on my face as well. I saw the check flying out of the window. I'm going, oh, Cyrus has done it again.
Well, there's Mahindra and Mahindra. You just have to go with the other guy. So, but for me, the fun part was in those days, we would all drink after the event, which, as the years went on, that seemed to, with a new age entrepreneur who just rushed off to his next event, that little funny bonding thing never happened. But then exactly this, what went wrong, and we drink and laugh,
and there was so much to chat about. Yeah. What went wrong was, hours of conversation.
Yeah. And you can't just blame me because everything sometimes would go wrong. It was so much fun actually when we look back. Yeah, including mics. You do a mic test. Oh, Brian, make us do mic test 15 times, and then when the damn show starts, the guys don't put it on. So you come and say, no, exactly like this podcast in the middle where I dropped out. And it's happened to me so many times. I want to write a book. I'm like, these technical guys, they come there and make a big deal out of everything. Oh, it was so much fun, really.
So we should write a book on all the, on all the gaffes. There'll be a couple of books needed.
And my favorite thing to do with you guys is sit down and look at the room and see which girl is checking us out. Because as you get drunk, your ego starts thinking that they are checking us out, and it's so much fun. I have good memories. And the Daru was free, brother. The Daru was free.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's a big one.
After insulting Keshav Mahindra, no intention to do that, but drank his as well. Okay, let's move on. So that was a super successful career. Then you guys, but you still, even though you sold Fountainhead, you still run Fountainhead.
Well, yes, but Fountainhead has operations have been shut now, Cyrus. Dentsu have made a decision. It's a global decision that they've made where they're kind of realigning their businesses and stuff. And in India, they've decided to kind of shut a few businesses down, given what's happening to us over the last 12 to 14 months. And one of the unfortunate decisions is operations of Fountainhead have been shut. So, yeah.
I can have that reverse. Not a problem. I know a few people in the right places. Don't worry about it. Although I think you've worked enough. You should never work again. You should just relax now. So let's come to the third avatar, which is the theatre, which in the last few years is, again, that's your thing now. So
yeah, it is. It started off being my thing. I mean, as you know, Cyrus, I mean, I'm talking about the early days, theatre was something, it all started with this system we have in Bandra, called the zonals. I'm sure you're aware of it, where, you get together and there are various competitions that you can participate in at various age groups.
And the singing is always great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Even the instrumentalists are good. And there are chorals, there is dramatics, there is, now elocution and a whole host of stuff. So that kind of, you didn't have an option. You went onto that stage and made a fool of yourself, or you came away winning a few prizes. But what it did was it kind of, you mainlined yourself with the performing arts. So that was brilliant. And then that's where the theatre bug really, or the theatre needle really got stuck in. And then we, I think it was back, I'm going to give away, the fact that I'm 93 years old. It was in 79 that we did Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which was one of the early musicals we did. And took it to, which was then a big thing, took it to the Mumbai stage, as they called it. Sapphires, I think, was the prescribed Mumbai stage back then.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah, the big one. If you performed at Sapphires.
Now you can't park a car. Those are lovely days. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was great fun. We'd kind of spend a lot of time there, partly because of theatre and partly because of the girls' hostel, but we won't go there. So that
my
was
mother and daughter are both from that hostel. You show some respect because you're somewhere between them.
Don't tell me your problems.
That sounds horrible, Brian. That's the worst sentence ever said on a podcast.
Don't tell me your problems. I got enough of my own. So that was Joseph and His Amazing. And then we went on, it was, I think, early, middle 80s when we did Grease Lightning, where, I did the narrator and Shamak and Sunita played Sandy and Danny. That was 85, I think. And there were big concerts. 8 Bhopal happened at that time. The big concert to raise funds for Bhopal, the gas tragedy. Then we did in 86, Alec after seeing Grease, actually asked me to audition for Perron, and so Evita happened. And
you played?
I played Perron. I replaced Keith Stevenson, in
What's
in
the
Evita.
song?
No, there are various songs. I mean,
The popular one.
Yeah. Dalip was replaced by Rags.
Yeah.
And there was.
That's my favorite song from Evita. On this night of 1,000 stars.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah,
so Evita came along, 86 or thereabouts. And then, of course, work took over. And while theater happened, it was not the main focus. But more recently, over the last 5 years or thereabouts, thanks to Disney, Beauty and the Beast happened. And there's a fun story there about how I got involved. But that's
quick, tell us. We still have time.
No,
I know you're cut off. Tell us.
No. So I got called in actually by Disney, and I thought they'd called us in for an activation job or an events job. And I asked, my buddy Vikrant, I didn't know him well at that time, Vikrant Pawar. I said, should I bring in, what colleague should I bring in an activations? He says, no, you come along. I went there. I didn't even realize they'd actually called me in to ask if I would audition. I thought they were calling me in because of the agency work. And that's how I auditioned. Of course, then that role happened in Beauty and the Beast.
You're the same, right?
Yeah. I played a character with Bugs, actually. Bugs and me. Lumiere I played, and Cogsworth, he played the clock and the candelabra. So it was great fun, actually. It kind of re-injected.
After 40 years in the business, he plays a clock and a candelabra. Wow. That's life. Yeah.
This was it. And then more recently, we did a ground-up original Sing India Sing, which Rahul and Bugs wrote, and Clinton did the music. So the needle is still in, my friend, the theater and musical needle.
Here's the worst question to ask anyone. So what is Brian Tellis then? Is he the radio guy that we all grew up to, or is he this event guy, natty businessman who, pushed the event industry forward?
It's a good question, but I've never thought of it. I've just been the kind of person who goes with the flow. There's been no master plan, and I'm being brutally honest. I don't want to pretend to be anyone I'm not. There's been no master plan. I've just gone with the flow. I've just followed my passion. I've just done the thing. Even now, I'm no more connected, with operational events and stuff like that. So I'm following my heart. I'm, probably going to be podcasting a bit, like I mentioned earlier, and creating
Which
stuff.
is anyway an extension of radio. So it's like, honestly,
no, it's all right.
Just you in the 2021.
Yeah. And I'm going to do a bit of, if people wanted a bit of consultancy, a bit of hanging out with the right people and doing the thing.
I'm doing the same thing for marriage, Brian.
You
people
are
struggling marriages.
We can work together. We can work closely together. You break up the marriages, I will bring them back together.
Absolutely.
Let's work in tandem.
You be the clock and I'll be the candle, bro.
Correct.
We'll work Simon and Garfunkel.
I'm telling you, we'll work out a business plan. And looking at you like this, man, my marriage is close to breaking up, dude. You're sexy enough with clothes on.
This may be a bit of a cliche, but it's true that strangers make the best friends. So here's my point. If we start this, people who don't know us come to us, will help them for sure. I just can't help people I know, because then, I just feel like doing mischief. I don't know if you think the same thing. It's a bit of a problem. Speaking of which, who's the biggest drinker in the group? These are the questions people want to know.
Who's the biggest drinker in the group?
Yeah, in the Fountainhead group, in those years of glory that we spoke about, when we were kings.
We shared the honors, man. We shared the honors. The honors.
You won't take a name? What a touchy guy. Everything else you're open about.
It was a democratic setup, Cyrus. So we shared the honors. But I don't know if you're aware, I've become the most boring old man now. I'm off the juice. Yeah.
So am I. So hence we start the marriage counseling thing. Was the first thing we tell the guy, stop drinking. He'll say, stop drinking, I'll leave her. But c'est la vie. Okay, Brian, because we need to get the questions in, and I've screwed up with this stupid technology issue. Apologize to everyone.
Again, Cyrus. Again.
Yeah, it's just on my thing. I'm Sabyasachi gone wrong, as you can see. So we'll call in our producer friend Silvery, who's from another generation, but is following in your footsteps in a sense, because you probably could have gone into stand-up comedy and all if it was there when you started, but you chose, to go wherever you did. But he's somewhere in the family. He's a young comedian who's also a producer to earn some money. And although he looks like someone running a separatist sort of army, but we won't go there. Sir?
Yes, sir. Hi. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Cyrus. Let's get to some more AMA questions. We've already covered a couple earlier. This one comes in from, so there are two similar questions, one from Karan Sethi and one from Girish Patil. So I'm just going to read them together. Karan Sethi asks, what are Brian's thoughts on Man Ki Baat, and how has radio impacted politics? Also, how has politics impacted radio? And what Girish Patel asks is radio in India free of political influence? Yes, please.
Yeah, they are intertwined. But before you answer that, now when I think of it, it's a fair question to ask you. Also, it was a naughty question, but it's a fair question because you're also judging as someone who, well, you know, someone's in the field, whether they're a big name or not.
You know, Cyrus, you're aware of this on radio, at least on.
I'm just waiting for your answer.
No, they don't allow you to be political. They don't allow news. You know that.
No, they don't.
On FM.
They don't.
They don't.
No.
So your opinion, you know, you need to keep to yourself. So possibly.
But Man Ki Baat, what do you think? Have you heard it?
No, I haven't.
Why not?
I'll listen to it now that you're egging me on.
We are the minorities. Wait, what are you talking about?
No, I haven't. I know I'm sounding blasphemous, but I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the appeal is not for us. It's not for urban India. It's more for everyone. Well, at least that's the attempt, I presume. But I just wish our politicians, although he's a good orator and all that, would just get a bit funnier. I feel if you're not funny from time to time, it's like Kunal Vijayekar talking. You know, it just bores me. It just goes on. So I wouldn't presume to tell people what to do, but I'm just saying if they could just interlace more humor.
No, here's the honest truth. I have listened not to the entire thing, but I've listened to a couple of them. I love radio for the fact that it is a one-on-one medium. Okay, my big pull to radio is that I can speak to and with Cyrus Brocha, albeit one-sided conversation. It's interpersonal. It's personal. If I'm going, how are you guys doing out there? That's not radio. Radio is a one-on-one medium, and I find that. So that's basic principle being violated. Obviously, you know, he's
so the intimacy you're saying. No.
Yeah,
radio. We're serious here. You're talking about the intimacy that you would have as a broadcaster or as a RJ, or whatever the word you want to use. It's a one-on-one, and that's why radio lovers are actually far more fanatical than anybody else.
Absolutely right. That's the medium of radio. The medium of radio, it's not my take. The medium of radio is a one-on-one. It's not meant to be me talking to the masses or whoever.
It's a glorious point. I'm not going to say yes or no, but it's a glorious point. So your thing is that it's actually wrong to do a Mark Anthony speech there. You're not wrong. Raising the rabble and oh wow.
I can talk to 100,000 people or whatever that number is, but I speak to each one of the 100,000 people if you know where I'm coming from.
Separate. I'm also saying so. You're right.
So it's a personal conversation.
Even as an artist, it's therapeutic for you because you do that. You know, you have a conversation which makes a little sense. You're not just screaming and shouting about, come on, guys, let's rock, let's have a good time, which is what I used to do for 25 years. Oh.
Just 25? Whom are you kidding? 25?
Okay, nice. Okay, Sylvie, next.
Okay. Next one comes in from Harvesh Kasar. He says, hey, Cyrus, Untitled and Brian. Watching the match yesterday, it looked as if India was experimenting yesterday with the captaincy. Your thoughts?
Well, Brian, I don't know if you're a big cricket buff. I know you're a footy buff.
I am.
But just want to quickly say, the guy goes off for a little while. This happens, you know, they're playing so much cricket. You might want to do potty, you might want to pee. I mean, these things happen from time to time. So, and Rohit Sharma took over and then whatever. I think it's an unnecessarily being mean sort of point. But in India, it's all about sarcasm the moment things aren't going our way, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, it is. I tend to agree with you, Cyrus. I mean, I don't think it was kind of orchestrated. I don't think Rohit Sharma needs to be done a favor. He's a fantastic captain. He's proved it over and over again with the Mumbai Indians, if nowhere else. So he doesn't need a gimmicky thing like
20
this.
minutes of exposure, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I think he's way beyond that. But
I love the match. Sorry?
Mm-hmm. I said I loved the match, though. I liked that it went into...
Good game of cricket, yeah. This jingoism crap, you know, of course, when it comes to the football, Silvery's also more footy guy. goes out of control, I think, sometimes. My son starts crying when Liverpool's had a bad run and all that. So I understand that part of it. But what happened to the old-fashioned sports lover who enjoys sport? And the result affects you, but you enjoy the sport.
I'm a sports junkie as well. And I've got a big take on that, man. So I'll just give you the Formula One case, or you can take the soccer case. If you're watching a Barca play, it's all about whether you love Messi or don't love Messi, and whether you're going to chastise him or whether you're going to kind of put him up on a pedestal. That sucks, man. Or take Formula One. I followed Michael Schumacher forever, right? And I stopped watching Formula One with other people because it was all about either you were a Schumacher fan or you were like vociferously anti-Schumacher. And you stopped to enjoy the race. You stopped to enjoy the sport. You stopped to enjoy the soccer match.
But Brian, in his form, there's another thing there. Because of his dominance, you want to shout for the little guy. So it's like when you got a guy who's omnipotent. Yeah.
I'm saying we all have passion points. We are fans of whoever they are. But don't let that kill the joy of the game, man. You know what I'm saying?
Points.
Yeah. And I find this happening a lot where I'm so caught up in being a Man U fan that I will never appreciate what Mane is doing for Chelsea or whatever.
Absolutely. You're right. And I'm telling you, this kind of perspective comes with age. Because I'm thinking back, we were probably as bad in our teens and 20s and stuff.
Kind of. Okay, I'm only 90 years old, so it wasn't that bad.
I would also support, say, Liverpool if my son does, but I would wear the towel and the cap and the shirt, and get up at 3:45 and watch the game and cry loudly and scream and throw things. So there has to be some, of course, coming back to Monkey Bath, I hope we don't get the same reactions. I'm just Silvery, sorry. Go on.
All right. Next one comes from Kashin Shetty. He says, is there one thing from the pre-2000s era of radio which you feel is irreplaceable? Also, do you feel that not enough radio stations today play foreign music?
Yeah, Brian, take this because, how do you explain demographics? It's a tough one. We've been fighting for English and Western music and all that.
Yeah, I mean, so first I'll answer the question of what was the difference? I don't know how different was 93, which is when radio or FM radio started.
No, between the difference was the amateur feel that we had, the stories you told and how my podcast lagged in the middle. That was the fun, because you were going there with your own discs. You were sitting there when you opened doors with machinery which is antique. That was it. Come on.
Those were the joys of, the early radio. But for the listener as well, I think radio was great fun because no more was it only the prescribed hits. I mean, I'd play the classics in the morning. It wasn't, your popular.
I'm now a classic.
True. Stop kidding yourself. But yeah, I mean, so that's the one thing. The second question was about English music. I do believe. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
The second question was also, do you feel that enough radio stations play foreign music nowadays?
Yeah.
Foreign as in Western. Yeah.
Yeah, international.
Yeah, I don't believe that the segregation should be foreign or English or Indian, firstly. I just believe you should cater as a radio station or radio stations, you should cater to the demographic that you're catering to. So it's not about how much Indian music I play or how much international music I play. Like, I would like to, in my blues, play the blues show that I do on Sunday evenings. I'd like to play a lot of Soulmate. I'd like to play a lot of Indian blues artists who are good. So that's not Indian or international. The same thing is what I believe in stations that play only Hindi music. I believe that when you say international music, there's Gypsy Kings that play Spanish music. Why are we differentiating music based on the country it comes from? You talk about genres, you talk about a demographic.
Brett Lee sings in Marathi.
So, there you go. Yeah. There you go. So I do believe we need to kind of grow a little bigger than we are at the moment, and confine ourselves to I am Indian and I only listen to Indian or I only listen to American. I think that sucks.
It almost comes to the same sports point we made, where the jingoism overtakes the love of art. And suddenly it's about, I only like this culture.
Exactly. We need to define the parameters on which we're living, man. I am Indian, but I am a global citizen, for God's sake. And I'm not trying to sound all airy-fairy. I'm living in, yes, I am defined in this Indian geography and I have an Indian passport and all. Yeah, sure. But when you're talking about listening to music, dude, what has me being Indian got to do with anything or listening to Indian music? So I think we need to shed these
complexes.
These
why wear the identity? Other people want you to wear some sort of identity. It's a good question because Indianness is very, very.
Be like Cyrus, he doesn't wear anything. Never mind identity.
No, I don't even have. I come from like mixed communities. I come from mixed classes. I don't have anything. The only thing, I'm not even a man. I don't have any label left. I don't know what to say.
At least you're honest.
Oh, that I am. I've always been pretty straight up. In fact, that cost me a lot. Yeah. Still very.
We can do one last
one more?
Yeah, we can do one more question. I've got a 11 o'clock. Sorry.
Quick, till we talk.
Yeah, one last quick one. This last one comes in from Karan Sethi. He says, what are Brian's thoughts on sports commentary on radio? And has he ever done it? If yes, what were his takeaways? And if not, would he like to do it at some point?
Oh man, Karan, you hit a sweet spot, man. You hit a sweet spot. I'm
the amateur becomes a professional. The lover becomes a producer.
No, I'm a sports junkie. I love sport, and as you have figured, I love talking as well. So I would love to explore being a sports commentator. I don't know what potential lies there, but I would love to be a sports commentator. I can still remember pre-television days when my dad would listen to cricket commentary on the transistor, and the spoken word tells stories, man. I believe commentators need to tell stories. This is radio commentary. And I can remember, Australia was taking the mickey out of England, and there was this English commentator who said something, and I remember the phrase. He said, and the hungry vultures of the Australian bowling attack now, hovering over the dying carcass of the English batting. Australia was whipping England's ass, with their bowlers. I believe commentary is an art form, man. You need to paint pictures. Of course, I'm talking radio commentary, but even television commentary, sometimes I listen and I become a bit of a cynic because I think they're so stereotyped. I'm not generalizing. There are guys who are really good. But what you need to do is, you don't need to say, here's Kapil Dev coming in right arm over the wicket, bowling to, hey, dude, I can see that.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be telling me stuff about the game. You need to be telling me stuff about where the game is poised at the moment and what difference Cyrus can make, with his batting, or, what difference Kunal can make.
Brian, if you listen to AIR now, and I do when I'm driving and a match is on, especially with this T20 culture, everything is on 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and they do this English-Hindi mixed feed. I've spoken about it before, but it's beautiful. You're talking about cultural identities and all. They have to speak to each other in their language, and the conversation is bilingual. So imagine you're in Hindi, I'm in English. So it's like, Mashhoor Awaz, Sir Ji, whatever, and the other guy starts talking in English. And if you don't understand both languages, you don't know what's going on. It's just fabulous.
But that's cool. That's cool. I think that's
India.
Fun. Yeah, exactly. That's India. Well said, man. Well said.
Yeah, but I totally get your point about which, Sylvie, I don't know ever make fun of other generations or something like a funny shoot that I've become. But, the romance of the cricket commentary or any other commentary that we grew up on or which we had right up to 20 years ago was just so fantastic, right, Brian? It just, like as you described, vultures hovering over the carcass of the poetry and all that comes with that little subculture.
Yeah.
That's gone. It's
storytelling.
Gone.
The storytelling of the spoken word is something that we've kind of forgotten, man. It's all about how you look, and sometimes we suffer even in that department. But, it's all about how you look and, whom you're hanging out with. And beyond the point, no one cares, man. And I think that's a change. I'd love to do some commentating, on sports. That'll be fun. Yeah. I hope I've answered the question. But even if I don't, I think that's a wonderful area. I, for one, kind of tune in very, how should I say it? Tune in really well into the commentary and into whether it's television or radio. I think we've lost Mr. Brocha again.
Yes, I think we have lost Mr. Brocha again. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for being on the show. Man. Thank you for agreeing to do this. And very lovely for you to sit and
it's been fun. Tell me, man, anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much, sir. You can
okay.
Go. Bye. Thank you to all listeners. I think we'll have to end the live stream here. Cyrus is gone again, sadly. And please follow us or please subscribe to our channel. Please like the stream if you haven't. It really helps with the discovery of the video. And please also follow us on the podcasting apps. That is the Spotify's and IBM podcasts and Apple podcasts or what have you. Please rate us and review us on Apple and Google podcasts because that helps a lot. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Can you hear me?
Brian is gone.
Brian is gone.
He had to leave. But it's good. It was perfect. Like he finished his answer and all.
Okay, great.
Then went all good.
Okay, done.
So you can just end this. Yeah, you can just end this.
All right, that's Brian Tellis. Unfortunately or fortunately, he had to run. He's got another very important meeting to earn money for his next venture, Jungli Jawani Part 2, where he plays the lead role. So till our next podcast, it's Silvery and me signing off. We'll see you soon, with or without clothes.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In, or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week. Syed, thank you so much for sticking with us. On the Paisa Vaisa podcast, Anupam was joined by Sujata Alawat, who spoke about women's credit behavior and about improving credit scores for better financial health. Gauri Devi Dayal was joined by Barkha Dutt on This Round is on Me. She shared her thoughts on present-day media and journalism and some of her experiences from the days of her reporting. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talked about how meditation is like getting engrossed and absorbed into an activity where you are free of other thoughts and focus on just one thing. On Agro Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi were joined by Supriya and Priyanka Joshi for an honest and heartfelt conversation about life as a woman in the 2020s. On the Filter Coffee podcast this week, Karthik invited Bala Srinivas, who has been an active mentor in the startup scene in India, and they discuss its various aspects from funding to government support. Our traveling professor Cesar talks about this academic document called Statement of Purpose and helps us understand its concept and shares and some tips on how to draft it well. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, host of the Empowering Series podcast on the IVM network. I happen to be a peak performance coach and leadership coach by profession, and I'm here to share with you productivity tools, life-altering techniques, and real life hacks to help you achieve your maximum potential in everything you do, your relationships, professions, careers. So tune in every Monday to unleash your inner power. Be safe, be well, be empowered.